The air in the grand auditorium buzzed with excitement as the cameras panned over rows of celebrities in their finest attire. The annual Liberty Awards was the most-watched live event of the season, and tonight's host, renowned comedian Alex Kane, was in his element. His sharp wit and reputation for leaving no stone unturned promised a night full of biting humor and headline-grabbing moments. As the spotlight focused on the stage, Alex strode confidently to the microphone, his grin signaling that he was about to deliver a monologue no one would forget. After a few opening jabs at the usual suspects, actors, politicians, and pop culture figures, his tone shifted, and the audience braced themselves for the next target. And speaking of political figures, Alex began, pausing for effect. What's Melania Trump up to these days? I mean, besides practicing her pout and perfecting the art of looking vaguely confused. The audience erupted in laughter, some clutching their champagne glasses as they leaned into the punchline. Alex smirked and continued. You know, they say she's fluent in 5 languages, but apparently none of them are empathy. Just kidding, Melania. We know you're busy, designing Christmas decorations that look like they belong in a horror movie. The camera cut to celebrities laughing, some covering their mouths in mock shock. Alex's grin widened as he delivered the final blow, but let's give her credit. She's done what no other First Lady has ever managed, turning a modeling career into a masterclass on avoiding eye contact with her husband. The applause was deafening, and Alex soaked it in, his confidence bolstered by the crowd's enthusiasm. In living rooms across the country, the jokes quickly became a trending topic on social media. But in one quiet home, a very different reaction unfolded. Melania Trump sat in her living room, the soft glow of the television illuminating her face. She had tuned in to the Liberty Awards expecting the usual mix of entertainment and lighthearted commentary. But as Alex Kane's monologue unfolded, her expression shifted. The quips about her modeling career, her accent, and even her holiday decorations weren't new, but hearing them amplified on such a public stage felt sharper than ever. Her perfectly manicured hands rested on her lap, her posture upright and composed. She didn't flinch or turn off the television. Instead, she watched quietly, her face a mixture of disappointment and determination. It wasn't anger that she felt. Melania had learned long ago that anger only fueled the very narratives she sought to rise above. Instead, a quiet resolve began to form. When the segment ended, Melania muted the television and stared at the darkened screen. She let the words echo in her mind for a moment longer before standing up and walking toward her desk. With deliberate movements, she pulled out a notebook and pen. The laughter of the audience might have filled the auditorium, but Melania knew she had the power to craft a response that would resonate far beyond the night's fleeting jokes. The morning after the Liberty Awards, the nation woke up to a storm of headlines. News outlets, talk shows, and social media platforms were ablaze with clips of Alex Kane's monologue. Some praised his fearless humor, calling it a much-needed roast of the former First Lady. Others, however, weren't laughing. Did Alex Kane cross the line with Melania jokes? One headline read. Another declared, sharp wit or thinly veiled bullying. The debate over Melania's mockery. On social media, the divide was even starker. Hashtags like hashtag Melania Mockery and hashtag Respect Melania trended side by side. One tweet read, if mocking someone's accent is your idea of humor, you might need better material. Others defended Alex, arguing, comedy is about pushing boundaries. If Melania can't handle it, maybe she shouldn't be a public figure. Morning talk shows jumped on the controversy. On one program, a panel debated whether the jokes crossed the line. She's a public figure, one commentator argued. This comes with the territory. Another countered, there's a difference between satire and punching down. Mocking her for her accent? That's not clever. That's just mean. Meanwhile, Melania's name was everywhere. Speculation swirled about how she might respond. Would she release a statement? Would Donald Trump, known for his fiery retorts, weigh in on her behalf? The silence from Melania's camp only fueled the frenzy. At home, Melania observed the unfolding spectacle with quiet composure. She scrolled through her phone, reading both the supportive and critical comments. A small smile tugged at her lips when she came across a tweet from a young woman who had defended her, writing, "As an immigrant, I know how hard it is to navigate a world that judges you for how you speak. Melania deserves better than this." Despite the whirlwind of opinions, Melania chose not to issue a public statement. She ignored the calls from reporters seeking a reaction and declined offers from allies who wanted to defend her on television. Instead, she kept her focus on the plan she had begun crafting the night before. Let them talk, she thought to herself. Words were fleeting. Actions spoke louder. While the world speculated about her silence, Melania knew she was working on something far more impactful, a response that would change the narrative entirely. The morning sunlight filtered through the tall windows of Melania Trump's private study, casting a warm glow over the elegant room. It was a peaceful contrast to the storm brewing outside, the endless commentary and debates about the previous night's mockery. But Melania's thoughts were far from calm. Sitting at her desk, she opened a small leather-bound journal, the kind she'd carried with her since she was a teenager in Slovenia. As she flipped through its pages, memories came rushing back. Her early days as a young woman navigating the modeling world, the long flights to unfamiliar cities, and the challenges of learning new languages to build a career. The mocking of her accent during the awards show lingered in her mind, but she didn't feel shame. That accent, to her, was a testament to resilience, a reminder of her journey and everything she had overcome. Her thoughts shifted to her time as First Lady. While she had embraced the role with grace, it hadn't been without its challenges. She thought about her Be Best campaign, the hours spent advocating for children, and the countless school visits where she'd sat with students to discuss kindness and empathy. Yet, despite her efforts, it often felt as though the public overlooked her work, focusing instead on trivial aspects of her life. As Melania reflected, the door creaked open, and Donald Trump entered the room. His usual confidence radiated as he strode toward her desk. "Melania, have you seen the news? They're making fools of themselves over what Alex Kane said. You should go on TV and set the record straight," he said, his voice firm. Melania looked up, her expression calm but unwavering. "I don't need to fight with words," she replied, her voice measured. "That's not how I want to be remembered." Soon after, a few close advisors arrived, offering their perspectives. One suggested holding a press conference. Another proposed enlisting supporters to denounce the comedian. But as each person spoke, Melania felt her resolve solidify. She listened quietly, thanked them for their advice, and finally spoke. "I have always believed in leading by example," she said, her tone steady. "This is not about responding with anger. This is about showing the world another way, a better way. Let them see that dignity can be stronger than mockery." The room fell silent, her words catching even her closest confidants off guard. Donald sighed but nodded, recognizing her determination. Melania had made her decision. The path ahead was hers to define, and she would walk it with the quiet strength that had always guided her. Melania sat at her desk later that evening, surrounded by notebooks, news clippings, and a laptop glowing softly in the dim light. She had spent the day organizing her thoughts, piecing together a plan that would not only address the controversy, but also elevate the conversation to something meaningful. Her first step was reaching out to a trusted group of advisors. Among them was a seasoned communications strategist who had helped her navigate public appearances during her tenure as First Lady, and a coordinator from one of the charities she had championed through Be Best. As they joined her on a video call, Melania outlined her vision. "I want to write an open letter," she began, her voice calm but purposeful. "Not to defend myself, but to share what this moment has taught me, and what it can teach others. This is about more than me. It's about how we treat each other." The team nodded, and one advisor spoke up. "If you want this to resonate, it needs to be personal. Share your story, your journey. People need to see your heart." Melania agreed. Over the next few hours, with her team offering input, she began drafting the letter. She described her journey as an immigrant, the struggles of adapting to a new culture and language, and the challenges of balancing her public role with her private life. But the heart of the letter wasn't about her. It was about the broader issue of kindness and the impact of mockery on people of all walks of life. As she wrote, Her thoughts turned to the young people she had met during her travels. She recalled a conversation with a middle schooler who had been bullied for his accent, and the way his eyes lit up when she told him to be proud of his heritage. Her pen moved faster as she wove these moments into the narrative, giving the letter an emotional weight that transcended the controversy. By the time the letter was complete, it was late into the night. Melania sat back, reading it aloud to herself. It was honest, vulnerable, and deeply personal. She knew it would draw criticism from some, but it wasn't written for them. It was written for anyone who had ever been dismissed, mocked, or misunderstood. The next morning, the letter was released to the public through a respected publication, accompanied by a statement announcing her plans for a new initiative under the Be Best banner. Its focus: fostering kindness in public discourse and teaching young people the power of empathy. As the letter began to circulate, the first reactions trickled in. While some dismissed it as a PR move, others praised its sincerity and emotional depth. For Melania, the true measure of success wasn't in the immediate response, but in planting a seed of change. She had turned the hurtful spotlight into an opportunity to shine a light on something greater, a cause that aligned with her values and her journey. The media had been buzzing for days. Whispers of Melania Trump's response to the televised mockery had circulated endlessly, with no official word from her camp. Then, one crisp morning, a press release landed in inboxes across the country, bearing the seal of the former First Lady's office. It was a simple announcement, but its message carried weight. Melania was launching a new initiative under her Be Best campaign, one aimed specifically at fostering kindness and combating online bullying. The release detailed a high-profile event where she would unveil the full scope of her plan, an effort to promote empathy and understanding in a digital age often marred by cruelty and division. The timing of the announcement was deliberate. It wasn't a direct rebuttal to the comedian's mockery, but its message was unmistakable. Melania would not engage in the pettiness of a tit-for-tat exchange. Instead, she would rise above, focusing on a cause she had long championed. The reaction was swift and polarized. Major news networks debated the sincerity of the initiative. Some praised her for turning a personal attack into a positive message. Others were skeptical, dismissing it as a carefully calculated PR move. Social media echoed these sentiments, with hashtags like #BeBestRedix and #RealOrPR trending throughout the day. Still, curiosity swirled. The announcement of a high-profile event tied to the initiative added intrigue. Held at the prestigious Metropolitan Cultural Center, the event promised notable guests, including educators, mental health advocates, and prominent figures in philanthropy. It was clear that Melania intended to make a statement not just with her words, but with the scale and seriousness of her endeavor. As the days ticked down, anticipation grew. Invitations were sent to journalists and influencers, sparking speculation about what Melania would reveal. Some questioned whether she would directly address the incident that had ignited the media storm, while others wondered if her message would extend beyond her personal experience. For Melania, the days leading up to the event were filled with preparation. Meetings with her team revolved around crafting her speech, ensuring every word reflected her values and vision. While others debated her motives, she remained focused on the larger goal: creating a platform that encouraged kindness and thoughtful dialogue. By the time the day of the event arrived, the media frenzy was in full swing. Cameras lined the entrance of the Metropolitan Cultural Center, capturing the arrivals of notable guests. Inside, the stage was set, adorned with a single banner bearing the words, "Empathy begins with us." When Melania took the stage, dressed in an understated but elegant ensemble, the room fell silent. The audience leaned in, eager to hear her message. What she said that day would set the tone for everything to come, and prove that she wasn't just responding to criticism, but leading with purpose. A week after the announcement event, Melania Trump made a rare live appearance on Sunday Morning Perspectives, one of the most respected news programs in the country. It was her first major interview in years, and the decision to participate had been a carefully considered one. The host, Emily Carr, was known for her thoughtful yet incisive interviews, and Melania trusted that the conversation would allow her to share her message without sensationalism. The studio was quiet as Melania took her seat across from Emily. The lighting was soft, the backdrop neutral, allowing the focus to remain entirely on the conversation. Viewers across the nation tuned in, curious to see how Melania would address the mocking incident and the subsequent attention her initiative had garnered. Emily began with a direct but respectful question. "Mrs. Trump, let's start with what everyone is talking about. When you heard the jokes about you at the Liberty Awards, how did you feel?" Melania's face remained calm, her expression thoughtful. "It is not the first time I have heard such things," she said, her voice steady. "But this time, I felt it was important to focus not on the words, but on what they represent. Too often, we choose to tear others down instead of building something better. That is why I chose to respond with action, not anger." The sincerity in her voice was undeniable. Emily leaned in. "Your new initiative has drawn both praise and skepticism. Some see it as an authentic extension of your Be Best campaign, while others question the timing. What would you say to those critics?" Melania paused for a moment, choosing her words carefully. "Criticism is always there," she said, "but my focus is not on proving anyone wrong. It is on creating something meaningful, something that helps children, families, and communities find ways to connect with kindness." The interview delved deeper, touching on her personal experiences as an immigrant, a mother, and a public figure. But it was when Emily asked about her own encounters with bullying and judgment that the moment turned unexpectedly poignant. "Growing up in Slovenia," Melania began, her voice softening, "I learned to work hard and never let others define my worth. When I came to America, there were challenges, language, culture, but I was determined. I want children to know that their differences are their strength, not something to be ashamed of." Her words struck a chord, but it was a story she shared next that went viral. Melania recounted a letter she had received from a young girl who had been bullied for her foreign accent. "She wrote to me saying, 'I don't think I belong.' That broke my heart. I wrote back to her and said, 'You belong. Your voice matters. That is why I do this work. To remind people, especially children, that they are seen and valued.'" The studio audience fell silent, and within minutes, social media was ablaze with clips of the interview. #YouBelong trended globally, and even some of Melania's harshest critics acknowledged the emotional depth of her words. By the time the interview ended, it was clear that Melania's response had shifted the narrative. Her calm demeanor, thoughtful insights, and heartfelt stories had captured the nation's attention, and for many, earned a newfound respect. The aftermath of Melania Trump's live interview was as polarizing as expected. While many viewers were moved by her heartfelt words and personal anecdotes, others saw an opportunity to criticize. Late-night comedians and certain public figures doubled down on their mockery, unwilling to let go of the controversy. One comedian, in particular, went viral for a skit mocking Melania's initiative, imitating her accent and questioning the sincerity of her message. "Be best? Be serious," he quipped, drawing laughter from his studio audience. On social media, memes flooded timelines, with captions like, "Empathy lessons from a Trump? Sure, January." The backlash wasn't limited to comedians. A few outspoken celebrities took to Twitter to question her motives. "Kindness campaign? More like damage control," wrote one actor. Another influencer posted a video dissecting Melania's interview, accusing her of using her platform for performative activism rather than tangible change. But as the criticism mounted, so did the voices of her supporters. Prominent figures, including some who had previously criticized Melania, stepped forward to defend her. One well-known journalist tweeted, "We may not agree on politics, but Melania Trump's words about kindness and empathy are worth listening to. Mocking her accent or dismissing her efforts doesn't help anyone." An educator who had worked closely with Melania during her time as First Lady wrote an op-ed titled, "Why We Should Give Melania Trump a Chance." In it, she recounted Melania's genuine interest in promoting anti-bullying initiatives and her ability to connect with children during school visits. "This isn't about politics," she wrote. "It's about using a platform to make a positive difference." As public opinion remained divided, the backlash highlighted deeper cultural rifts. The discussion became less about Melania and more about societal attitudes toward forgiveness, empathy, and how much someone's political affiliations should shape perceptions of their character. Yet, amid the noise, Melania stayed silent. She wasn't interested in engaging with the negativity. Instead, she focused on the upcoming charity gala that would officially launch her kindness initiative. While the world debated her authenticity, Melania was determined to show, not tell, the impact her campaign could have. The Metropolitan Grand Hall sparkled under the glow of crystal chandeliers. The stage was set for the charity gala that would launch Melania Trump's kindness initiative, Empathy in Action. The event had been meticulously planned, with every detail reflecting the campaign's mission. Tables adorned with understated yet elegant centerpieces featured cards bearing quotes about kindness, while the foyer was filled with interactive displays highlighting the program's goals. The guest list was a mix of educators, mental health advocates, philanthropists, and public figures. Notably, a few celebrities who had previously mocked Melania were in attendance, drawn by curiosity or perhaps a genuine desire to hear her out. Their presence caused a stir among the press, but inside the hall, the atmosphere remained warm and inviting. As the event began, guests mingled over hors d'oeuvres while live music filled the space. A short film played on large screens, showcasing testimonials from students, parents, and educators who had participated in pilot programs funded by the initiative. One mother spoke through tears about how her son, who had been a victim of cyberbullying, found a sense of belonging through the kindness workshops. When it was time for Melania's keynote address, the room fell silent. She took the stage in a sleek, understated gown, her presence commanding yet approachable. Her speech began with a touch of vulnerability. Over the past few weeks, I have been reminded of how powerful words can be, both in their ability to hurt and their ability to heal, she said, her voice steady. Like many of you, I have faced judgment, ridicule, and misunderstanding. But I have also experienced the power of kindness, the way it can transform not just a moment, but a life. Melania shared personal anecdotes, including her own struggles as an immigrant adapting to a new culture and the challenges of raising a child in the public eye. Her voice trembled slightly as she recounted a letter from a young girl who had been bullied online. She wrote, "I feel invisible." Those words stayed with me. They reminded me why this work is so important. Her words struck a chord, and the audience was visibly moved. Some wiped tears from their eyes as she continued, outlining the initiative's goals: funding school-based kindness programs, providing resources for parents and educators to combat bullying, and launching digital campaigns to foster empathy online. When she concluded her speech, the room erupted in applause. For a moment, the noise was overwhelming, and even Melania seemed taken aback by the intensity of the response. But as she scanned the room, she saw something she hadn't expected. Some of her harshest critics standing and clapping, their expressions softened by her words. One of the attending celebrities, who had previously mocked Melania on social media, approached her afterward. "I'll be honest, I didn't think I'd be here tonight," the actor admitted. "But hearing you speak, I think I was wrong about you." Melania smiled warmly. "It's never too late to choose kindness," she replied. The gala was a resounding success, raising significant funds and, more importantly, fostering a sense of unity among those who attended. As the evening came to a close, Melania stood at the edge of the stage, watching the crowd. For the first time in weeks, she felt a sense of peace. The negativity and mockery had been transformed into something meaningful, a reminder that kindness could, indeed, create change. Outside, the press buzzed with reactions, many praising the event's sincerity and impact. By the next morning, headlines like "Melania Trump's gala inspires a movement," and "From criticism to compassion" dominated the news cycle. The world was beginning to see her in a new light, not as a target for mockery, but as a symbol of grace and resilience. In the days following Melania Trump's successful gala, the media narrative began to shift. Major news outlets that had once questioned her motives now focused on the tangible impact of her kindness initiative. Morning shows featured testimonials from beneficiaries of the pilot programs, highlighting stories that resonated deeply with viewers. One segment showcased a middle school in New Jersey that had adopted Melania's Empathy in Action curriculum. A teacher described how the program transformed the classroom dynamic, reducing incidents of bullying and fostering a sense of community. "The change has been remarkable," she said. "Students who were once isolated are now leaders in promoting kindness." Another story followed a teenager who had been cyberbullied relentlessly. After attending one of the initiative's workshops, she found the courage to confront her bullies and share her story. "I realized I wasn't alone," she said tearfully. "Mrs. Trump's program gave me hope." These accounts began to dominate the headlines, painting a picture of an initiative that wasn't just words but action. The New York Times ran a piece titled "Melania Trump's Kindness Initiative, More Than Just a Message," and even traditionally critical outlets acknowledged the program's success. The celebrity response was equally surprising. Some public figures who had mocked Melania during the Liberty Awards began to express regret publicly. Alex Kane, the comedian whose jokes had ignited the controversy, made a rare admission during a late-night talk show. "I didn't think much about it at the time," he said, "but seeing what she's done since then, I have to give her credit. She turned my cheap shots into something meaningful." Other celebrities took to social media to apologize. One actor tweeted, "Sometimes we forget that public figures are people too. I was wrong to mock Melania Trump. Her grace in the face of criticism has taught me a lesson about kindness." Polls reflected this shift in sentiment. A prominent polling firm released data showing that Melania's favorability ratings had climbed significantly. Comments from respondents revealed admiration for her ability to rise above ridicule and focus on a greater cause. "She's shown more dignity and strength than many of us expected," one respondent noted. For Melania, the turning point wasn't about public approval, but about the growing momentum of her initiative. The negativity that had once surrounded her name was giving way to a sense of respect and acknowledgement of her efforts. Her quiet resolve had paid off, and the world was starting to see her not just as a former First Lady, but as a change-maker. Months after the gala, Melania's Kindness Initiative had become a national movement. Schools across the country implemented her Empathy in Action programs, reaching thousands of students. The initiative's online campaigns gained traction as well, encouraging young people to use social media as a tool for positivity rather than harm. Legislative support followed. Inspired by the success of Melania's work, a bipartisan group of lawmakers introduced the Kindness in Education Act, which allocated funding for anti-bullying initiatives in schools. Melania attended the signing ceremony, her presence a reminder of the power of turning personal challenges into opportunities for change. The real-world impact of the initiative was undeniable. A report from a nonprofit organization revealed that schools participating in the program saw a 40% decrease in bullying incidents and a marked improvement in students' emotional well-being. Testimonials poured in from parents, teachers, and students, each story a testament to the initiative's success. In her quiet moments, Melania reflected on the journey that had brought her here. Sitting in her study, she opened the same leather-bound journal she had turned to after the Liberty Awards. The pages were now filled with notes, ideas, and reflections from the past months. She smiled as she flipped to the first entry, where she had written, "Lead with grace, not anger." Her thoughts wandered to the criticism and mockery that had once consumed the headlines. What had initially been a painful experience had become a catalyst for something meaningful. Melania felt a deep sense of pride, not just for what she had achieved, but for how she had chosen to respond. As she looked out the window, watching the sun set over the city, she thought about the broader message of her journey. Dignity, kindness, and resilience had carried her through the storm, proving that these values could endure even in the harshest of circumstances. In her final public address for the initiative, Melania stood on a stage before a crowd of supporters, educators, and students. "This journey has shown me that challenges are opportunities in disguise," she said. "When we choose to respond with kindness, we not only change the conversation, we change the world." The applause was thunderous, but for Melania, the true success lay in the faces of the young people in the audience. They were her legacy, the proof that kindness could create ripples far beyond the moment. As the screen faded to black, the final words appeared. "Kindness is not a weakness. It is our greatest strength. Let it guide us all." Want to hear more of this? Then click on the video on the right-hand side, which is even crazier.